Listen, speak, and learn English.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Listen, Speak, and Learn English podcast. I'm so glad you're tuning in today because we're diving into something that honestly used to terrify me when I was learning a second language. And that's the jump from practicing with an app to actually talking to a real, live human being.
Oh, tell me about it. It's that heart in your throat moment, right? Hello, everybody. I'm Jack. And yeah, Emma, you're spot on. There's a massive difference between listening to a recorded lesson and being in a situation where someone is looking at you, waiting for an answer.
Exactly. It's what people call high stakes listening, like the pressure is on. If you don't catch what they said, the conversation just stalls. It's not like a podcast where you can just hit the back 15 seconds button.
Right, exactly. You can't just rewind a barista at a coffee shop or a potential language partner on a Zoom call. And I think this is what we really want to get into today. That pressure, it's actually your best friend. It's a catalyst.
Totally. It's like, okay, think about gym workouts. You can lift the light weights all day and feel comfortable, but you don't really see that explosive growth until you add enough weight to make it a bit of a challenge. Real life conversation is that heavy lifting.
That's a great analogy. I remember the first time I tried to use my Spanish in a real market. My brain it went blank for a second. I had practiced all the phrases, but hearing the speed of a native speaker, it was a whole different ballgame.
I bet. And I think that's where active listening moves from being a theory to a survival skill. You aren't just hearing sounds, you're hunting for meaning because you have to respond.
Definitely. And I've noticed that when I'm in those situations, I pick up on things I'd never notice in a textbook, like the way people shorten words or the specific ums and ahs they use.
Oh, for sure. The filler words. Those are so important for sounding natural. But let's talk about that fear for a second. A lot of our listeners might feel like they aren't ready for a native speaker or a language partner yet. They think, I'll wait until I'm perfect.
Yeah, but the catch-22 is that you'll never feel perfect until you actually do it. It's a bit of a loop. I always tell people, find a partner online or a local meetup. The stakes are high enough to make you focus, but usually the person on the other side is way more patient than you think.
True. Most people are just happy you're trying to communicate in their language. It builds this empathy. When you're struggling together to reach an understanding, that's when the real learning happens.
Precisely. It's that active engagement. You're looking at their facial expressions, their hand gestures. It's a full body experience. It's not just ears, it's eyes, it's intuition.
And that's what we're exploring today, how to bridge that gap, how to take your listening from passive background noise to active participation. Jack, you mentioned language partners earlier. Do you think online platforms are just as good as being there in person?
Honestly, in some ways they're better for practice. You can find someone with a specific accent you want to learn, and you're in a comfortable environment, which lowers the panic factor just a tiny bit. But you still have that high stakes feel because another human is waiting for you to speak.
Right. It forces you to stay present. No scrolling on your phone while you listen. So, Jack, we were just talking about online platforms. I think a lot of people get nervous about the cost of making a mistake. Like if they say the wrong thing to a language partner, they'll feel embarrassed.
Right, I totally get that. It's that social anxiety kicking in. But, if you think about it, a language partner is basically a safety net. You're both there for the same reason. They're probably just as worried about their mistakes in English as you are about yours in their language.
That's such a good point. It's a mutual struggle. I find that when I'm talking to a partner, I use a lot more of clarification phrases. Things like, wait, did you mean, or could you say that another way?
Exactly. And those phrases are gold. They keep the conversation alive. Actually, that's a huge part of active listening, knowing how to manage the breakdown in communication without just giving up and switching back to your native tongue.
Managing the breakdown. I love that. It's like being a detective. You're looking for clues in their sentences. If you don't understand a specific noun, you look at the verb they use to see if you can guess it.
Precisely.
And that's why these high-stakes moments are so much more effective than just doing a multiple-choice quiz. In a quiz, if you're wrong, you just see a red X. In a conversation, if you're wrong, you have to work your way back to the light. It forces your brain to create new neural pathways.
It's exhausting, though. I remember after my first 30-minute exchange, I felt like I had run a marathon. My brain was literally buzzing.
Oh, I hear you. The mental fatigue is real, but that's the feeling of your brain actually growing. If it's easy, you're probably just reviewing what you already know. If it's hard, you're learning.
Well, let's talk about the online versus offline thing again. I feel like in person is even higher stakes because you can't just close the laptop if you get overwhelmed. You're stuck in the moment.
True, true. There's no leave meeting button in a real cafe. But that pressure, it makes the memories stick. I still remember a mistake I made 5 years ago in a bakery in France because the embarrassment made it burn into my memory. I'll never forget the word for flour again, that's for sure.
Oh no, what happened? Did you ask for something totally different?
Let's just say I confused flour with flowers. The baker looked at me like I wanted to bake a cake out of roses. It was awkward, but hey, I learned.
That's hilarious. But see, that's a perfect example. You were actively engaged because you needed that bread or those flowers. Now, let's shift gears a bit to the physical side of listening.
The physical side? You mean like sitting up straight?
Well, yeah, but more about body language. When we're in high-stakes situations, we use our whole bodies to listen. We lean in, we watch the other person's mouth move, we look at their eyes.
You're right. I've noticed that when I'm struggling to understand someone, I start mirroring their movements. It's almost like I'm trying to get into their head to understand what they're saying.
Totally. And for intermediate learners, this is a huge advantage. If you only listen to audio files, you lose 50% of the communication. But when you're talking to a partner via video or in person, you get all those visual cues.
For sure. Like, if someone's face scrunches up, you know they're saying something negative or difficult, even if you don't know the exact word they used.
Exactly. It's contextual listening. And I think some people avoid real conversations because they think it's cheating to use visual cues. They think they should be able to understand with their eyes closed.
Oh man, I couldn't disagree more. I mean, even native speakers use visual cues. Communication isn't just a hearing test, it's a connection. If you're using everything at your disposal to understand, that's just being a smart communicator.
I agree. It's about being effective, not being a robot. And speaking of robots, since we're talking about AI voices and stuff, nothing beats the unpredictability of a human. A human might change the subject suddenly, or use a weird slang word, or laugh at a joke you didn't know you made.
Right? That unpredictability is the ultimate high stake. It keeps you on your toes. You can't predict the script. You have to be on the whole time.
Which brings me to active engagement. Jack, what's your number one tip for someone who feels their mind wandering when a native speaker talks too fast?
Oof, that's a tough one. Honestly, I start repeating what they're saying in my head, almost like a shadow. Not out loud, obviously, or they'd think I'm crazy, but just echoing the sounds internally to keep my focus locked.
I do that too. It's like an internal echo. It helps stop that glazing over feeling when the sentences get too long. So we've talked about the fear and the physical side of listening, but let's get into the nitty-gritty. Accents. Oh my goodness, Jack. This is where it gets real, doesn't it?
Oh, you aren't kidding. Accents are like the boss level in a video game. You think you know English because you've listened to the standard news announcer voice. And then you meet someone from Glasgow or Deep East Texas, and you're like, wait, are we even speaking the same language?
Right? It's wild. And that's exactly why high-stakes practice with different partners is so vital. If you only ever listen to one person, like say, just listening to me or just listening to you, your ears get lazy. They get used to our specific rhythm and melody.
That's a great point. Ear laziness. I like that. It's like only training your muscles to move in one direction. But the real world is messy. I mean, think about it. Most people speaking English globally aren't even native speakers. They all have their own beautiful, unique accents from their home countries.
Exactly. And that's a high-stakes situation too. If you're in a business meeting and you have someone from India, someone from Germany, and someone from Brazil all speaking English, your brain has to flip through all those different sound files to make sense of it.
Totally. And I found that the best way to handle that is, again, not to panic. When I hear a new accent, I actually tell myself, okay, the first 2 minutes are just for calibration. I don't even try to catch every word. I just try to get the song of their voice first.
Calibration. That's such a smart way to look at it. You're letting your brain adjust to the frequency. Actually, I find that using discourse markers helps here too. If I'm struggling with an accent, I'll say things like, right, I see where you're going, just to keep the flow while my brain catches up.
For sure. And back channeling is huge there. Even a simple uh-huh or I get you gives the other person the signal to keep going. It buys you time. But, and this is important, you can't just fake it the whole time. Eventually, you have to engage.
Well, that's the thing. If you're practicing with the language partner, you can actually say, hey, I love your accent, but I'm struggling a bit with the R sounds. Could you repeat that last bit? It makes the listening active rather than just passive nodding.
Precisely. It turns the obstacle of an accent into a learning tool. And honestly, once you've successfully navigated a 20-minute conversation with someone who has a thick accent, your confidence, man, it just skyrockets. You feel like you can handle anything.
Let's talk about a scenario that I think is the ultimate high-stakes test for intermediate learners. I call it the coffee shop challenge.
Oh man, the pressure of the line behind you. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly. You're standing there are 5 people behind you, the milk steamer is making a huge noise in the background, which is auditory clutter, by the way, and the barista asks you something super fast, like, do you want room for cream?
And you just stand there like a deer in headlights, because room for cream wasn't in chapter 1 of the textbook.
Right. In the textbook, it's always, I would like a cup of coffee, please. But in real life, it's loud, it's fast, and people use slang. This is why we tell people to go out and do it. That stress forces your brain to prioritize the most important sounds.
It really does. I mean, in that moment, you have to filter out the hissing of the espresso machine and the music playing in the shop. That's selective attention. It's a massive part of active listening. You're literally training your brain to ignore the noise and find the signal.
Find the signal. I love that. And I've had students tell me that they've practiced their order 100 times, but then the barista asks something unexpected like, is that for here or to go? Or do you want to sleep for that? And they just crumble.
Well, that's because they prepared for a monologue, not a dialogue. Real life is a dialogue. It's a tennis match. You have to be ready for the ball to be hit back to you in a way you didn't expect.
So, how do we practice for that? I mean, you can't exactly live in a coffee shop.
Well, you could try, but seriously, I think it's about simulated pressure. When you're practicing with a partner, ask them to play a role. Tell them, okay, pretend you're a grumpy bus driver, or pretend you're a fast-talking salesperson.
Oh, that's a fantastic idea. Role play. It adds that layer of unpredictability. And you can even put some background noise on, like a YouTube video of city sounds, while you practice. Make it hard for yourself.
Definitely. If you can understand your partner while a simulated siren is going off in the background, then the real coffee shop won't feel so scary. It's all about building that listening muscle under tension.
Okay, so we've convinced everyone that they need to talk to real people, but where do they find them? And how do you pick a good partner for high-stakes practice?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, there are tons of apps out there. Hello Talk, Tandem, italki, you name it. But finding a good match is like dating. You have to find someone you actually vibe with.
It really is. I mean, if you have nothing in common, the conversation is going to be painful no matter what language you're speaking. You need someone who is going to challenge you, but also someone who makes you feel safe enough to fail.
Right, exactly.
I actually prefer partners who aren't teachers sometimes. Teachers are great, don't get me wrong, but they're trained to understand learner English. They're too good at guessing what you mean.
Ooh, that is such a subtle but brilliant point. Teachers have teacher ears. They can decode your mistakes easily. But a regular person, they'll just look at you confused if you say something wrong. And that is the high stakes moment we want.
Precisely. You want that moment of, wait, what? Because that forces you to rephrase, to use synonyms, to describe the word you forgot. That's where the real growth happens. I mean, if someone always understands your mistakes, you'll keep making them.
Totally. So when you're looking for a partner, maybe look for someone who has similar interests. Like if you love photography or gaming, so that the desire to communicate outweighs the fear of making a mistake.
For sure. If you're talking about something you're passionate about, you'll naturally be more active in your listening. You'll want to know what they think about the new camera lens or the latest game update. The stakes become about the information, not just the grammar.
I love that. Stakes about the information. It's shifting the focus from, am I saying this right, to, am I understanding this correctly? It's a complete mindset shift.
Well, and it makes it more fun. I mean, let's be honest. Studying a grammar book for an hour is a chore. Talking to a friend about your favorite hobby for an hour? That's just a good afternoon. And you just happen to be getting better at English while you do it.
Actually, I've found that some of my best high-stakes moments were totally accidental, like getting lost in a city and having to ask for directions. You really have to listen to the answer then, or you're sleeping on a park bench.
Exactly. Survival English is the ultimate high-stakes listening. But you can recreate that feeling with a partner by setting tasks, like, okay, today you're going to give me directions to a place, and I have to draw a map based on what you say.
Oh, that's a brilliant exercise. It's goal-oriented listening. If the map is wrong, you know exactly where the communication broke down. Well, Jack, we've covered accents, coffee shops, and finding the perfect partner, but I think we need to address the elephant in the room. What happens when you're in a high-stakes conversation and you just completely fail? You have no idea what they said, and you've already asked them to repeat it 3 times.
Oh man, the 3 repeat rule. That's the point where you start to feel that cold sweat, right? You feel like you have to just nod and smile and hope they didn't just ask you a question.
Exactly. We've all been there. But honestly, if you're practicing active listening, the nod and smile is actually your biggest enemy. It's better to admit defeat. I usually say something like, I'm so sorry, my brain is just hitting a wall with that specific phrase. Could we try one more time, maybe slower?
Right, right. And you know, there's actually no shame in that. In fact, most native speakers find it really impressive when someone is that honest about their learning process. It shows you're actually trying to understand, rather than just pretending.
Totally. It's about being an active participant, even in your confusion. And that's really been the theme of our talk today, hasn't it? That English isn't something you just study in a dark room with a book. It's a living, breathing thing that happens between people.
Beautifully said. It's about the connection. All those high-stakes moments, the nerves, the fast-talking baristas, the tricky accents, they aren't obstacles, they're the path. They are the exact things that move you from being someone who knows English to someone who speaks English.
Precisely. So, to everyone listening out there, your challenge for this week is to go out and find one high-stakes situation, whether it's calling a customer service line, joining a new language exchange group online, or just chatting with a tourist in your city. Just do it.
Definitely. Don't wait for perfect. Perfect is the enemy of progress. Just get out there, get your heart racing a little bit, and listen with everything you've got. You'll be amazed at how much faster you improve when there's a real person on the other end of the conversation.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to wrap things up for today. Jack, it's been a blast as always. I feel like I've learned a few things just talking to you.
Same here, Emma. It's always a pleasure. And to our listeners, thanks for sticking with us. We really believe in you.
We really do. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Listen, Speak, and Learn English podcast. If you found this helpful, don't forget to check out our other episodes for more tips on making your English journey as natural and fun as possible.
See you next time.
Bye, everyone. Happy practicing.
Let's continue your English journey together. Subscribe for more lessons and watch this video next to practice your listening.